Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. All right, what is today? It's Sunday. What does that mean, peeps? It means super fun Sunday. And what's it gonna be? It's gonna be super fun. All right, we have a killer lineup of books. I don't know if we'll be able to get through them all, but this ties in directly with the drawing videos that I'm starting to post. I'm gonna tell you right up front. I know you guys all think of me as Black Drawing Rich, the devil's conduit. But you need to know this stuff, and these books are great. They're big too. Hold on, I have a comic book here. So, size relationship. This is a trade, but anyway, you can see they're bigger than a standard comic book. But these books are awesome. I bought them a long time ago, but I'm sure you can find them on eBay, Amazon, blah blah blah. And there's probably more. But anyway, we'll go through Aladdin first. But the thing is I'm stressing shapes and perspective and understanding all this stuff. And there's no better place to start than with Disney animation and these key character breakdowns. It's the bottom line. If you can draw this stuff, you are going to be rock solid. And they're deceivingly more complex than they seem. What I found as a kid is I was really into Scooby-Doo. And Scooby-Doo is actually very hard to draw, the dog, because his face is weird. It's like unbalanced. The genie in this will be a good example of kind of a similar sort of drawing problem. But again, going back to drawing front views or side views, there's this stability in that really doesn't exist in any kind of dynamic drawing. Anything that's more, when you start turning things, there's more forgiving shapes when you turn a head or turn a figure, and then there's more unforgiving shapes. But anyway, so we've got the little lineup. This is real important stuff. I mean, you should be like, this is what you should be filling your sketchbooks with, is stuff like this: trying shapes, finding interesting variety of shapes. And like the Disney stuff is incredibly important. Whether you like Disney movies or not, they hire the best artists in the world, and it's not only the best artists in the world; they're the best of the best. The guys and girls that do the lead animation and keyframes and stuff like that, they're out of this world. They're the top 1%. And anytime you have an opportunity to get a little bit of insight into that, it really, really is to your benefit to do it. So, I would always suggest, if you're going to attempt to improve your drawing skills, it's a multi-pronged thing. If you can study from life, that's great. I would suggest getting 3 to 5 anatomy books that you enjoy, some that are geared specifically for artists, and maybe one that isn't. I always love this. This is so good, and the colors are so awesome. It's a little bit of a glare. I don't know if this now will help. If I pull this down a little bit. Yeah. So and a good animation background and foundation in your work is really, really going to give your stuff life. So I'm not going to go over all the text in this book. These are pretty cheap too. I would imagine you could get them from anywhere from like $6 to $20. Pick your poison and try other ones. Now, there are thicker art of books of these movies, and again, they're great. I slowly want to acquire them all, and I have quite a few. Nice distinct silhouette here. Again, the other thing you're going to find in this book, there's not going to be a lot of front and side views, because it's just not a reality. It's not a reality in doing art. It's a reality in doing commissions. Look, the first head they show. I mean, I'm telling you, like I didn't even look at these books, but if you notice that first sort of the introduction to drawing characters, I'm already trying to pull you out of that mindset and get you more along the lines of this. And what did I show you? I showed you the sphere. I haven't looked at these books in at least 3 to 5 years. I knew this would be important, and I knew that this would bring us right on track with what we're working on. I don't completely agree with how they're showing to build these things up, but I can get into that later. But anyway, we're just going to kind of look through the books and get an idea. So anyway, you've got the sphere. They drop the jaw on, and I showed an example of a profile, kind of like how you do that, and then you drop in the neck. There's your simple sphere, and again, those curved lines on it, the grid, quote unquote, although it's only two intersecting lines, will really, really help you. They put in the eye sockets. I actually do place the nose is kind of more the skull, that cavity that sits there. And when I roughen the nose, I generally do put sort of like a gap more than protruding object initially. Some facial expressions. You know, and odds are you're not going to draw comics this cartoony, but that's really not the point. The point is being able to squish and stretch things like facial expressions, and knowing that the face is pretty malleable, and you know, as it says up here, knowing a character's personality will help you to achieve a variety of appropriate expressions. You know, and then here's a real nice way to create the figure. Again, the torso, nothing on it is straight up and down. Nothing on it is straight lines. You've got that nice ellipse. If you remember, I showed how you put a belt onto someone. There's your ellipse. That you know, really, really nice here. How it's more of a action figure type shape. The legs fit in. You know, putting these circles here can be a little risky. I don't totally agree with that methodology, but again, I can show you. I would do it more as a wedge than that, because it can, I think, cause some trouble in the feet. I don't know what it is. This drives me nuts. I hate when artists draw this foot looking like it's the wrong foot. I see it all the time. I see it in comics, and you know, to me, that's not an accurate shape. The what do they call it, the arch of the foot. Yeah, just, I don't know. It's weird. It looks incorrect, and look, I mean, even that, it doesn't look right to me. So look, even in these drawing books, but they ultimately got it right and put in the arch here, and then that side is more like that. This is the way I always remember this, is the inside ankle, it sits higher than the outside ankle. So in general, unless you're at a different angle, this shape will go like this. Like, that's the angle of your ankle. So the one on the inside will sit higher and lower. But ultimately, they got that foot a little more pegged in. But yeah, I mean, that doesn't even look right to me. But again, it's I have the experience to know what isn't. And perfect hands, the way that they set them up. You've got the wedge shape, which, here I go. That's my book. I'll draw on it if I want to, yo. So that's the simple shape, and then they put the thumb wedge here, which the thumb wedge from a different angle kind of is like this. It's almost the shape of like a grand piano. Okay. But again, I'll touch on this stuff as I lead you in it. And again, I had kind of explained that to me, a comic book character, and even these Disney characters, there's sort of three things that make them identifiable. One is the silhouette, which they showed. You know, just the basic outline of the character should be distinct. And there's a few ways that they do it. They do it with the size relationships, the overall just sort of basic geometry, that read. This read, the silhouette. Okay, and then the next really identifiable thing is the head, because it's the hair on Aladdin, it's the little hat, it's the size of his head. You know, if you're looking at it as more detail, it's the facial expressions and stuff like that. But anyway, the head is a costume itself. Like Batman that's identifiable. You could just have Batman's head. You could just have Hellboy's head. And then the final is the figure and what accessories are on the figure. So he's got the baggy pants and the vest, and so again, this will all tie in. Nice figure. Even in that form, it's got some attitude to it, and part of it is that really beautiful arc to the figure. Again, nothing is straight up and down. Nothing is looking straight at you or sideways, and that's the right way to do it. That's dynamic drawing, okay? And you want to practice these. And the thing is what's deceiving is, okay, so you see something like this pose right here. His feet are on the same plane. Ultimately, you're even going to get away from that, because if you try to draw people standing with their feet sitting sort of side to side like this, it will mess you up. It messed me up for a long time, and I would always be trying to plant the feet on the same plane, and really what you're going to ultimately want to do is be able to have, like, that's the ground floor, and it's okay to have one leg here. I'm looking through the phone as I do this, and then one leg can sit back this far, and you'll have more of stuff that is akin to this. Like, all right, nice. I'm drawing in my book for you, and then this leg is going back into space. So again, remember I talked about the cylinders? So your cylinders are going to start recessing into space. But yeah, trying to place 2 feet on a ground plane where they're parallel, it's bad news. This works because it's a little closer together. But again, if you were going to draw the ground plane that he's sitting on, you need to be able to be aware that he's essentially sitting on something that's like that, which is basically a rectangle in perspective. The vanishing point would be back here. And again, I don't want to start confusing you right out of the gate, but anyway, the vanishing point would be here, and the figure, ultimately, all these shapes that are on him are actually in perspective too, but we'll get into that later. All right, see how important these books are? And I'm even going beyond the book for you. That's how nice I am. Now, do you notice something with the girl's face? Look at this. The angle. It doesn't go straight across. And again, when you start everything with a front view, even if you're arcing the eyes a little bit, like if you're doing front views and you're having sort of like the eyes a little bit, this is going to be real important, because if you started to get above the head, I'm trying to like show you like a forced perspective, even though this is a 2-dimensional drawing, but if you start shooting from up here, things are going to start to shift even more. So you can create a little bit of an optical illusion of depth just from the way that I turn the phone. This is real nice. Again, nice big cylindrical shapes going here, and then ultimately they start to curve down. So, I had mentioned that like even Spider-Man's webs and stuff like that all will start to tie into this methodology. But, like this shape is coming out like this. Okay. That one is going kind of, it ultimately is going behind her head though. So it would actually be like this. Like this is actually kind of doing more of that, whereas this is so do you see like the cylinder is coming out and towards us, it starts to bend down, and now it's starting to go away from us right here, honestly, like if it's going into space, and then it starts to kind of come back out around and then drops behind her. And again, there's your circle in perspective. And if you were looking at this front on, I'm looking through the phone. If you're looking through this front on, you've got your circle and then the inset gem. But as you start to turn it, the gem is going to do more of this type of thing. And then because we're looking at it even more straight on, you see more of this. And again, three-dimensionality, same as the head. It's curved. Okay, bada boom, bada bing. Super fun Sunday. You're gonna get your learn on a bit today. So anyway, we'll go through these. Nice. And again, this is I mentioned that like this is kind of like step one and two sort of blended together. Step one would be the gesture. Step two is sort of building up a mechanic or your mannequin, and then step three is flushing it out, which would probably be more of a silhouette of this thing. And if you watch like Jim Lee draw, Jim kind of goes to step three right away. But what did I say in the video? I said steps 1 through 3 will ultimately blend together. But if you don't understand three-dimensional form, then you need to be working on this type of stuff first. Because if you can't have cylinders going in and out of space, and your rectangles, aka your torso and hips, that are more of a rounded rectangle in these shapes, or maybe a sphere if you want to, like a flattened sphere, or a sphere that's had the face and rear sort of shaved off, you're not going to get very far anyway. And again, the feet are wedges, the hands are wedges, and the hand even has a second wedge, and then you have cylinders for fingers that are kind of juxtaposed. I'd said in the other video that the middle finger is the longest. That's technically not true. The middle finger is just as long as your other two, but because of the shape of the wedge of your hand, it's pushed forward. So just to be accurate with that, your middle finger isn't actually longer, as far as I know. But okay, so this is where it gets really good. Okay, the genie is quite complex. He has that beautiful brow that sits here, and again, I had talked about getting used to being able to place objects on top of a sphere. You know, here's your sphere. They pop this wedge over the top of it. Okay, and then you got your sphere still sits here. This is a different plane that starts to come out. Then it drops down into the wedge. Sorry, I'm kind of like blending, and then you have the big wedge, which is the jaw. I'm gonna look at the paper so I don't mess it up. But still, your sphere still has that cylindrical arc on it. And, sorry, get my plans off, and you drop the ear right about here. Nice big shoulders. But, you see? It's not so hard. It's just something that you really have to apply yourself to. And again, you've got the eye sockets and sort of the casing of the skull. They've got this great, like, shape here. The cavity for the nose, so to speak. And you can look at it both ways, whereas the cavity would sit like this. Kind of goes, it would be inset, okay, but then they plop the nose over it. But what ultimately ends up happening is, because you have the cavity there, it sort of helps place it. You know, then you got the nose, and his nose actually kind of tucks down a little bit more. Okay. They don't show the other nostril. It's something that kind of he actually doesn't even have nostrils. But anyway, if you were going to place those on, again, it's sort of this geometric shape for that, and then depending on the angle, you would see the inside of the nose and stuff like that. And the teeth are real simple, but still they do sit on that horseshoe shape, so they shouldn't be too flat, or at least you should feel the form. This is real nice too. Look how tiny the sphere is for his head, and yet how large his torso is. But ultimately, it looks pretty balanced when you see the full figure. We'll just look at the upper body. This is pretty loosey goosey. I mean, he's basically sort of like gaseous in a way, but still is nice. The proportions are pretty good. It's a little long to the elbow. The elbow in a normal drawing should hit right about. Your elbow hits right kind of at the bottom of your rib cage. So again, that's where knowing your anatomy would come in handy. But this would probably drop to about his waist, which is, if you're standing, your arm should come to mid-hip. Your hand, sorry. But anyway, proportionally it's pretty good. But you could see this arm is actually longer than this arm, even though this arm is going into space. So it's going backwards away from us. It's a little difficult to see because there's no anatomy on it, but there's a cylinder that sits right there. Okay, and then this one actually is coming back towards us. So that one goes like this. Here, I'll draw this right here. But if you can't and again, this is a real important thing. As I was talking about perspective the other day, and I started just looking at my desk and the perspective and vanishing point of all the objects sitting on it. I mean, you really, really need to be able to see that stuff well. But anyway, so yeah, this arm is almost like this, with the other one doing this. Okay, and this sits in front of it, just so you know. It kind of would, like, if there was anatomy, it would go like this. Okay, and if there was a shoulder. Okay, so going away from you, coming back up towards you, because again, if there was the lips there, you're actually seeing the top plane of this, and then this would be the closed, and then the wedge sits like this. Let me just look through my phone so I make sure or not through my phone, is what I mean. And because it's going away, this gets a little smaller. Okay. Wedge for the thumb. And anyway, well, I don't want to confuse you guys with fingers right now, but okay. Important stuff to know. This is Super Fun Sunday, but it's super important information to learn. Look how they place the jaw in that sphere. Bada boom, bada bing. Because he's a puppet. Okay. Oh, one of my favorite villains is coming up. Monkey. Really, really good to work on animals. They're very, very fun anatomy. Longer, like from the elbow to the wrist is much longer. The legs long here, but then shorter here. He's got some fun feet, fun hands, and I'll attack fingers and toes and hands and feet in their own video, but probably won't be in the character design part of the drawing videos. I know that people want to probably get to drawing superheroes, so we'll tackle that individually later, but don't fret it. It's not a huge deal. This is really nice. Squatting poses are really, really challenging, and for me, what I tend to lose is the space between the collarbone and the crotch or the hips. Right in here tends to vanish for me, and it's usually off. So it's something that I still struggle with really doing an appropriate squatting pose. It's quite a delicate balance, and it's also kind of like an artistic liberty that you take with it. But the key points would be where the knees sit, what angle they go at, and then this upper body, placing it back on it. But if you draw through, it definitely helps, but it can also make it challenging. But like, check this out, like how curved that line is. You know, again, nothing is straight up and down or parallel, meaning like it doesn't go like this or like this. You're just not going to find those shapes. And the size difference of the eyes, it's very cartoony, but this would be hard to draw and make it look balanced with the mouth pushed out like that, and this nice sweep here, and this, and J. Scott Campbell incorporates a lot of these behaviors into his work. Okay, Jafar is really fun to draw, and I can draw him pretty good. I haven't drawn him in a while though, but he's really, really fun to do. Beautiful colors. Look at his eyes, that almond shaped eye, the really, really extended jaw. He's got this kind of cool sort of upper lip mask that sits here. Again, that nice and again, if this was a three-dimensional form, it would go like this, and then it drops right here. You need to be able to see that. Sorry, I'm looking through my phone. And then they kind of suggest this, but if he were to have a nostril, it would sit here and go up and then down. If you have an opportunity to look at wireframes, it will help you, because I'm going to look through the phone. If you know what a wireframe is, like a 3D model, like, sorry, it's a little sketchy there, but I'll just do this. But essentially, the lines curve like this. They're curving under here. Okay, you're seeing a little bit of the underplane. Then they would start to get more straight, and then they start to curve over, and then actually get tighter and tighter together as they go back because they're going further into space. Okay, and then they would space out here a little bit. Okay, and then again you'd start to see just a little bit of the underplane. So you need to feel those forms. It's really important. Again, this eye, three-dimensional structure goes like this, like I showed on my eyeball. It's a sphere. It's not a flat plane. So anything that you put on it, like if his eye were to look up, I'm gonna just move my phone for a sec. I drew a circle, but it's really not a true circle. It's a circle that's actually in perspective, so it starts to have wider edges than just a flat circle. If you put a flat circle on the eye, it would look weird. So again, if you look at that, it's actually stretched out that way. Really, really important. It's very subtle, but just incredibly important. And again, being able to draw designs on top of that sphere, I talked about that in the video too. You know, this could be eyebrows, this could be some sort of fancy belt, it's the design on the hat, but you know, this side, they're longer, you know, because it's the side that you're seeing. I'm not looking through my phone, but I'm not actually even copying the drawing. I'm just giving you an example of what I see. But again, bigger and then tighter on this end. Okay, play with those. Play with that. Get that in your DNA. I have a lot of racing to do after this video. Destroying my book for YouTube. Really nice. Look how tiny the sphere is for his head. It's crazy small. Man, that is such a great pose. That is really cool. Yeah, the staff is awesome. He's actually got his head turned at a really, really kind of neat angle. They show it here. You can see. You see the back eye and the bridge of the nose. They suggest it here is the first place that you see it is. Sorry, my hand is shaking because the phone's heavy. But you see the guideline that goes. Let me see if I can do it. Sorry, that's like goddamn fucking phone is heavy. This. So it curves there, but that's because the center line of the head is right there. So that's actually the exterior cheek, and that's the interior cheek. And then here, once they drop the nose, and the other cheek gets obscured, but you can actually see there's an eyelid, an eyelash there, and that. Then here they flesh it out a little bit more. They put the lids. And then ultimately you get this really nice shot of him like with his head kinked a little bit, and then his eyes are looking this way. This is real beautiful. Beautiful colors, beautiful just attitude. 5 stars, man. It's really, really nice. These are cool. Look at that gesture. Really nice. Look at the fingers. See how they're all kind of doing their own thing. The thumb's got this great kind of attitude to it. The pinky out, showing sort of like a delicate kind of falseness to it. And he's leaning forward, and it's just the body language is great on it. It's like, come on, how bad could I be? Let's be friends. Just ignore my cobra staff. Conniving. That's Jafar in the nutshell. The dude is a conniver. He's conniving-ish. Oh, his fingers are great. They're so long. Artistic liberty, but it works. I love the shoe, too. Yeah, great design on him. And then we got Iago. Gilbert Gottfried. He's still the bird. But anyway, again, animals. Very fun to draw, very fun shapes. Well worth the effort putting into it, and you'll be able to port everything that you learn from doing cartoony animals into your real drawings. And these are fantastic. Nice stretch on that. Do you see the stretch of the mouth and the hands? There's so much tension, and like it's just an exciting shape. And that hunch. And the angle of the head coming out, do you see that? The form on that is great. it's really really cool too because they turn two shapes. What you've got, it almost looks like a fantastic race car. I have to not look through the phone. Okay, so this sphere is kind of coming at you. If it was a cube, you'd almost see it like this. The cube will help you see the what I'm trying to explain here, which is really subtle, but it's really, really damn good. Okay, so that sphere is doing that, but then check this out. Okay, the beak is actually coming at a different angle. It's great. It's so cool. Huh? Let me make sure I'm seeing the... Okay. But look at that. How extreme that is. So the head is like that, but the beak is like that. He's got this great turn. This whole piece is turning. They're juxtaposed. It's so killer. It's so subtle. You would totally not see that, and that's why animals are so damn hard. And that's why Scooby-Doo, as a kid, was so challenging to really learn to draw well, where it really looked like a shot from the movie, or from the cartoon. It was because of that. This is nice, too, the one higher foot. But, yeah, be able to see that, because if you didn't see that on that, then you don't understand the drawing. And I'm not even 100% sure that I would have fully caught that from this. But now that I've learned this, I'm going to be aware to look for that in things like that. You know, is there a weird curve here? There might be, you know. It doesn't look to be, but yeah, that is really, really subtle, but really, really well done. So hopefully people are sticking it out through this video and realizing that there's a lot you can learn from this simple, simple stuff. Raja. Tigers, really fun to draw. Lions, tigers, and elephants. Okay, you see why this is good stuff? Your buddy Rich isn't going to steer you wrong. I'm going to get you to master all this stuff, and then you're going to go and you're going to do whatever you want. You're going to be way better than everyone else. They're not going to know why, but you'll know why. Because you went further into the fundamentals than anyone else did. And that's why, like, someone like Frazetta was such a badass. He's doing all this stuff in his highbrow paintings and illustrations. But what was Frazetta when he was younger? He was a great caricature animal artist. Not even kidding. He did funny animal stuff. We'll do Pocahontas because this one has a lot of interesting shapes. It's a good one. All right, we probably won't be able to get through this whole book, but see what happens. Actually, we'll just go to the gargoyles. Although this is pretty cool. It's nice. Look at that curved line. Isn't that crazy? You never think to put something like that curved, except if you have the animation skills. I personally wouldn't. I mean, this is a learning experience for me too, which is why I chose it. Because it's like, if I'm going to try to teach and explain this stuff, I need to really, really get back to the basics. Esmeralda's really, really cool. These are great, great designs. I'm worried my phone's going to cut out here any second, so I'm kind of like, this is nice. Alright, where are the gargoyles? Are they first? No, they can't be first. Oh, here we go. So these are fun little monster shapes. But you could, like this, you could kind of get into like the Hellboy head space with the chunky planes on them. Oh, they don't really break them down that much. But anyway, but you know, my goal is to attack a character like Hellboy and show you how you place those cut-off horns on his head and the cheeks and the forehead and the chin, because it really all is kind of based on this stuff. And you know, although Mignola is kind of considered more simplistic, it's all there for you to take as realistic or as minimalistic as you want. But this is where it all starts. Okay. All right, well, I hope everyone has a super fun Sunday, and yeah, smash the like, check out my Patreon, and have a great day, and I'll be back tomorrow with, I think we're going to start going through framed ink on Mondays, so that'll be fun. I'll read a little ahead tonight, and then be able to kind of cut through it tomorrow. Okay, have a great, super fun Sunday. Bye.